run, but as far as what we're looking to see early on the seed, he wants to find a hammer, doesn't want the shovel, so not a fan of fetch quests. And he's a new streamer. His name's actually Joel, though. Fun fact. And on the other side, we have SeedyV, our own. May know SeedyV from commentating this tournament. Also from the US, and has been playing Rando for about 2 years. Plays open mode in Key Sandy, no experience with NMG. Hoping to find bombs, doesn't want to see that boomerang.
Interesting. Most people don't feel too against the boomerang, so that's kind of an outlier. What do you think the players are going to find on Uncle? Because we only have a couple more seconds until they're there. I'm thinking...
What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a bow seed. What do you got?
I'm hoping to find hammer.
Well, we were both kinder than Uncle, because we found our way into a bomb seed today, so strap in. It's going to be an explosive ride.
Well, so the nice thing about that is we do have 10, and we don't have to worry about farming the bombs. In the meantime, though, our runners are going to be throwing a lot of pots.
Yeah, the runners going to be using pots to supplement the bombs for damage, because no one wants to run out of ammo. And wow, that 8 bomb drop almost trolling there for MrJohnnySpot. I'm sure we'll see SeedyV run into it at some point. But they're going to want to save enough bombs that they'll have a bomb left over at least for the wall. And so that'll be nice that they'll be able to bomb the wall out and get the items in the back of Escape, assuming that they execute everything else cleanly. But depending on the level of experience they have with bomb escapes, it could go anything but cleanly. So hopefully they're able to manage.
One thing our runners will have to pay close mind to is where they place things and how they use the scenery around them to get the guards to, kind of stand right on the bomb. We saw at a MrJohnnySpot, really nice use of stature in the room. Took a little longer, though, because he threw a bomb later than SeedyV did.
Yeah, those little time losses can add up, but realistically for the bomb escape, anytime you're able to get through cleanly and use the minimum number of bombs on each room feels pretty good. At least that's the level of comfort I've got with it still.
Absolutely, and there's only so many to work with. The ball and chain guard's already going to be enough trouble. Pots are not. Though technically we can kill everything in that room with just pots.
And we did get some bombs out of the, I guess it's the vanilla map chest or compass chest?
Yes, the map chest.
Okay, the map chest. That would make sense. There should be no compass here. That would make a lot of sense, wouldn't it? Sorry, got to get my head in the game. But
well, you only see it only every now and then. I mean, in Randomizer, even less than normal.
But yeah, they're able to get a little bit of an ammo refill, have a little bit more of a margin for error. We did see SeedyV using one extra bomb, have one kind of go for nothing, and ooh, MrJohnnySpot out of pots. I would be inclined to reset the room here, but looks like he is going to power through and gets his big key.
One thing to look out for, though, is MrJohnnySpot does not actually have a lot of health to work with. So one of the most common strategies for later on enemies like the Key Rat is to walk into it with a bomb. He'll have an opportunity to pick up a couple hearts on the way, but it is a time loss.
Yeah, there's the one safety heart in the that you basically have to walk right by as soon as the first room after you push that pedestal to the side. But otherwise, I'm hard-pressed to think of where there's hearts. Where are the other ones?
In the Green Guard hallway that we're walking up to right now.
Oh yeah, they're the ones up top. We'll see if MrJohnnySpot remembers those, because I would have forgotten.
I think it might have been just one. I thought there was 2 there, but it didn't seem like SeedyV picked one up. That was strange.
I think he may have used that pot on the way in to farm a Green Guard as well.
That would make sense, actually, yeah.
At this point, I'm a little surprised to see the runners farming for drops, because they are so set on bombs, and really that's what you're mostly looking for this early in the game. But
they do have the same number of rupees. They might be trying to get over 100 before they leave.
Yeah, that is the other the other concern early on is having enough rupees to pay that bottle vendor.
Looks like SeedyV had pretty friendly RNG when it came to these snakes there. That's always nice to see. We don't want to spend much time using any kind of weapons. And there's half magic. Wow, so that's early.
Yeah, that's never a necessary safety, but always a welcome one, at least for me. I don't know anyone who's ever sad to see half magic, so that's got to feel pretty good.
Well, so the least tactical item they can find is something that uses ammunition at this point, but we're not going to be sad to see the bow, so pretty much win-win here.
Yeah, you're not gonna find too much ammo early unless they get lucky with some drops, but the bow always a welcome find if they stumble across it.
Doesn't look like much of anything in the back half of Escape, though, so our runners are going to make a mad dash, likely to Lost Woods and Kakariko.
And I think we'll probably see them do kind of a top-down clear. They're both pretty set on bombs. And then it'll likely be, I think we'll probably see the race game check and maybe the lumberjack check from each of them. And then we'll have to see what they choose to do, but we've got a few minutes of very rapid item discovery. What do you think the texture of the seed's going to be out of CAC?
Well, out of CAC, we have, we have our bombs, so we have a lot of different places to check, both in Kakariko Village and, elsewhere in the world. I think we're going to find an early Moon Pearl. Where our Dark World access is, I think is going to be the harder to answer question.
I think that's a strong one. So you've got Moon Pearl in CAC. I think we're also going to see, let's see. I think we're going to get a rod. And probably the bow. I think that would be a nice find.
That would be nice. Another nice find, though, the tree pole is full magic pots, so that could be handy later.
Yeah, and Hoarder Crab delivering small magic pots in a pinch. With all this magic, it's kind of a shame the runners don't have any items that utilize it just yet, but when they do finally find one, there's going to be a lot of places to go to get set up, and both runners getting that red rupee, getting their money situation all squared away, so they'll be good when they get to that bottle vendor.
Well, I didn't catch the ledge item we're about to find out here on MrJohnnySpot screen.
I think it was a plus. MrJohnnySpot is an MVP at seeing things, because that was barely on there.
Yeah, I didn't.
But I think it was a +5 arrow capacity. Did you see what the mushroom spot was? I didn't catch it on SeedyV's screen, but here comes the thieves' hideout. Bombos.
Ooh. Well, there's use for our magic.
Yeah, we still need a sword, but we're on our way. And just a quarter piece of heart up there.
Yep, so while that is a nice find, it's not something that's worth walking all the way out of the way for. Although we don't have a lot of hearts, so maybe it would have been wise to pick it up.
Yeah, I think I would pass on it at this point, but I definitely wouldn't fault anyone for choosing to go get it, especially because those pieces of heart, when you get 4 of them, come with a full health refill, which can really come in clutch sometimes.
Yeah, and you really can't plan for it being a randomizer, so, best hope you can have for it is you need it somewhere and you get the full health. But, never hurts to find them. We're never going to be that upset about finding it unless we're looking for something progression-wise that has us running in circles. We're hoping not for that, though. And another medallion, wow.
Yeah, we are a quake away from the entire set of medallions, so runners at this point favored to have what they need there. Ooh, Power Glove. I guess slightly less than 50% there. They're 4 in 9, or 44% to have their medallions in order, assuming they need T-Rock and Meyer. But it feels pretty good to have 2 of them out of the way early.
Yeah, plus that lift upgrade is going to give us access to Death Mountain as soon as we have the lamp, and more importantly, just easier overworld access overall.
And my first shield on SeedyV's screen, soon on MrJohnnySpot's. And Seedy, I think, is 1 heart piece away, and Hookshot in the well.
That's a development.
With 8
Well,
bombs, I'm almost tempted to like immediately force Death Mountain and just brute force my way up there and just use bombs to navigate those dark rooms.
which, I mean, if you know the, dark room strategy with bombs, and you don't have to really kill much of anything in there, just kind of use it to make sure you don't get knocked off, ledges or anything. But if you do, I mean, there's a lot you can check with that hook shot.
Yeah, if you can get through it. Also, hookshot's good for the navigation of the dark room, not just picking up the bomb and making sure that you see where it's going. So, we'll see if either runner chooses to do that. MrJohnnySpot risking the soft lock, going for that chicken clip and nailing it.
And the early bow is a thing.
Feeling good. Should have bought a lottery ticket today. We need that rod, unfortunately, so I didn't hit the lottery, but
it could be boot locked. We're about to find out.
yeah, we did find a bow, and now MrJohnnySpot gets his bow, and just 20 rupees there in the library.
I mean, it was red. It was boot locked. I was right there.
Let's mark that one in the win column. What's the race got today? Just $100.
Certainly a great purse for the race, but definitely not something worth entering.
Yeah, I don't think with the current loadout that runners are really going to be looking to get up to 500 and do Zora. I think we're going to maybe see some South Shore or Eastern action coming up over the other option of kind of brute forcing your way into Death Mountain.
Yep, and a lot of people, will forego that 100 there, possibly coming back to it later, but for the time investment for it, when you are likely to come across the 500 rupees anyway, plus, if you can do Catfish with Zora, it's the best of all worlds, not something you want to jump on right away.
Yeah, and SeedyV into the dam, showing a nice little use of the hook shot there. As soon as you push that middle block, you can hook onto the chest and save a couple door transitions here and do both of these items in one go, and finding the Moon Pearl. We'll see.
Whoa.
Yeah, MrJohnnySpot also getting that. Nicely done by both of those. Just a little time-saving trick.
Well, so between the two of us, we are 2 for 2 on clairvoyance today.
I'm just gonna mark this in the win column for both of us. We're now like 2-0 or 3-0 or whatever in this tournament. Let's just keep it rolling. That's how it works, right?
Pretty much. I'm going to roll with it for now and just assume that is the case. Interesting thing, though, you brought up that we can hookshot through that block. Just kind of explain why that works the way it does. When Link is pushing a block, it actually becomes a sprite for a temporary amount of time, and because of that, it actually doesn't have collision detection, and that's why we can hookshot through it. It's also part of the contributing reason why using a mirror in a non-dungeon cave allows you to delete the block. It messes with the game.
Yeah, the Japanese 1.0 ROM is pretty bizarre in some of the glitches that are in it, but that's why we use it as a basis for these randomizers. And it looks like Seedy is dipping out, didn't do Ice Rod Cave, is instead going to head right over to Eastern, and so we'll see if MrJohnnySpot chooses to head that way. It looks like he is.
It is tough to say if it's ever worth skipping a Sphere 1 item, but we're going to find out. Now, if, SeedyV were to find, like, Flute here in Sahasra's hut, it would actually be a net gain, but kind of a gamble.
Yeah, that is how leaving Sphere 1 incomplete works, especially in V29 now, is that there's a lot of gamble leaving these unchecked spots. But it can be a time save. We'll find out very soon whether that decision is going to pay off.
So far it hasn't. Sahasra has a stunning Love Shack, not much else beyond that.
I'd say the stunning Love Shack paid off great.
Yeah, I mean, you do get the best boomerang in the game.
And unfortunately for MrJohnnySpot, nothing... No action there at Ice Rod Cave, but looks like he's thinking about something. I mean, he had what was that? Is it the book? Was Ice Rod Cave?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, so it could be useful.
Yeah, so this takes us in a couple of different directions. I mean, we don't have boots, so desert could be boot locked, but picking that up, having the foresight to be like, hey, well, if it's giving me the book, I should probably go check this. This also gets us to Agina's cave, which SeedyV has not checked yet.
Yeah, Agina's cave is one of those spots that can linger really, really late into a race, but it's nice to see that, I guess, SeedyV, if he chooses to complete Eastern, will be doing it kind of outside of the logic. Desert, we'll find out, but that's totally in logic now with Glove and Book, so...
And we did get a quick map check, so all 3 of these Light World dungeons are crystals, and Hera is one of the red crystals.
That's always nice. That's a harbinger of a quick seed, so we'll see if that bears out for these runners, but it's always refreshing to see that your pendants are somewhere in Dark World, because those dungeons tend to be longer to go through.
We get to see a nice fast room strat out of SeedyV there. Those Stalfos do not spawn, all 4 of them, if you take advantage of some spawn points in the room. It's based on where Link is in the room, so we take a very specific path to avoid triggering them early. Throwing 2 pots, we can kill 2 of them as they spawn. One of them spawns underneath the pot, so it doesn't at all, and the other's outside of the room, so we get to do it really fast.
Yeah, it's really weird how that room works. There's basically lines on the floor that you cannot cross, or they'll trigger the spawns. And so if you kill the spawn points first, you're set. And it looks like the small key is on the torch in Desert. So we'll see what MrJohnnySpot does from here.
They did catch the Desert Ledge item. I did not personally, but I get the feeling that's exactly where we're heading. We could steal a key from the back half, though.
Yeah, we'll see if he chooses to sequence break in that way. I'm always a little hesitant to do it, but the shovel, so a fetch quest item for us today. And it looks like we're just going right to Agina on MrJohnnySpot's screen. I'll highlight the sprite he's using, that Zero Suit Samus sprite. As a Metroid series fan, I'm always happy to see that one get used. Just to take a moment to shout out the community of sprite makers for this game who do an awesome job giving us all these customizable sprites for our Link avatars for this game.
Yeah, there's some like 80 of them, I think, that are currently official.
Wow, I didn't realize we were up to 80. But that is a stunning number. Meanwhile, SeedyV on to Gifted with Greenies, but in the dark. So this is tough. Can't use those medallions. There's not a lot, and it looks like, yeah, at half a heart, he is gonna
dip out there.
Yeah, that room can go wrong in a hurry, and with no sword to kind of calibrate yourself, that's a tough room. So both runners kind of going to an action spot and then kind of being forced to abandon the plan. I'm kind of glad that if it was not going to work out for one of them, it didn't work out for either of them. Makes it fun to watch.
But the shovel is looking likely for a good item.
Oh yeah, well... Ooh!
I'd say that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's a nice find there, and with SeedyV headed up to Death Mountain, we'll see how he does with his darkroom navigation here.
Now, of course, the nice thing is that we are not going to have to swim anywhere on the mountain, so we're not too worried about those flippers yet, but with the lamp being what's holding us up from getting up here normally, or potentially the flute, I get the feeling those flippers are going to lead us there.
Yeah, I think we're going to be paying $500 for a lamp today, and because that's a fire source and we don't yet have one of those, I'll say it's a bargain.
It better be at least 1 million candle power.
I'll point out what MrJohnnySpot just did, because it's something that a lot of runners can miss. Using the hookshot to stun an enemy, and then killing the enemy with the bushes to check the stun prize. The stun prize is random for seeds, and it's what happens if you freeze an enemy using something like a hookshot or a boomerang. They'll always drop the same thing, in the same way that if you dash and kill an enemy, it will never drop anything. And for this seed, the stun prize is 8 bombs, so we'll see if that comes into play.
Yeah, that's probably the best, stun prize outside of Magic. In the vanilla game, you just get a green rupee, so in the randomizer, we really get a lot more use out of it.
Yeah, the vanilla game, not very useful most of the time. Usually you're better just doing rupee prize pack enemies. But here, I have a feeling maybe MrJohnnySpot was looking for some sort of rupee, but after getting 50 from the hobo to set himself up for Zora, he is not going to be sad to have seen that 8 bomb drop.
Absolutely. We also have people in chat asking about the red crystals. There's a hammer.
Yeah, that's that's quite a find from the Waterfall Fairy. MrJohnnySpot getting paid off for some of these decisions. So far the logic chain looks like, because that's Dark World access, by the way. Shovel on Desert Ledge, which was, of course, behind the book. The book in Ice Rod Cave, proven its worth. Giving us Dig Spot Flippers, leading us to the Waterfall Cave.
I think that might have been Mirror on Zora Ledge.
Wow.
But yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot to finish the thought there. So, red crystals, there's a fairy inside the pyramid in the Dark World that you need to have 2 crystals completed for, 5 and 6. That sounded wrong. The crystals 5 and 6, not 2, 4, and 5 and 6. But with those 2 crystals, you can buy a super bomb to get in there. But it looks like Zora's going to give us powder today.
I love powder. It's been a long time favorite of mine. I like powder and things. I like being able to get fairies, especially in Dark World dungeons. I'm never sad to see powder, and I imagine
easily the strongest safety in the game.
Yeah, these runners probably not going to be too sad to see it either. SeedyV, quite a few steps in the logic away from that. But MrJohnnySpot with Dark World access looks like he's headed for Hype Cave.
Yeah, this is going to be a nice springboard into the Dark World. We're finding pendants in Thieves Town, Skull Woods, and Turtle Rock. Very interesting locations.
Yeah, and red crystal down there in Ice Palace. So that's the other crystal, along with Tower of Hera, to open up that Fat Fairy location in the pyramid.
But, folks, you know what's up next. We have the Hype Cave. Is it really hype? Is it love? Is it something else? Is it rupees? We're going to find out.
Yeah, Seedy has Mitts and Fighter Sword. And was that the mirror?
That was Mirror and the holy bug net.
Well, sorry, Bugnet. But man, am I excited for that mirror. That's going to help the overworld routing a ton. And now that MrJohnnySpot's in the Dark World, we are going to see how he chooses to use all of this newfound freedom to check all sorts of sweet spots.
Yeah, at this point it would be nice to have Boots just to get a couple of extra spots, but that may even save him time. If Boots is laid in the seed, then we may not need to check a whole lot of these locations anyway.
Yeah, and the mitts from Seedy, I think they were up on the mountain, which might take MrJohnnySpot a while to get up there. So there's a lot that's kind of held prisoner by the mitts, and it looks like MrJohnnySpot might be headed right into swamp. This is a really early swamp.
Yeah, we do have pretty much what we need for it. We don't have a sword, though, which, I mean, SeedyV did find a whole bunch of stuff on the mountain. We got Titan's Mitts, sword, and a shield upgrade, which are all handy items. But as far as Swamp Palace without a sword, that is doable, just probably really annoying, because we're going to have to do a lot of menuing just to finish off Argus.
Yeah, menu boss Argus is very real. But I like this call. This is a crystal dungeon, 6 items. You've got all the prerequisites. The more stuff that you need to get into a spot, if you get all those things early, the more inclined I am to go check it out and see why the game has given me all of those things. And I think that that's probably what's going on in MrJohnnySpot's head. And I like this call a lot.
We're also going to get a check of what Turtle Rock is. I didn't catch that, but...
Yeah, I missed the T-Rock medallion. SeedyV is going right into Hookshot Cave, so this also a pretty high yield location. Having the mitts and the hookshot early. As SeedyV is reading the logic, this looks like a great place to be. And from chat, thank you chat, saying that Ether is the medallion for T-Rock.
So we do have that, and SeedyV, if able to find the Cane of Samaria at some point, would be the first one to have access as of now.
Yeah, with the sword, Cane of Samaria would get him all the way into that first chest, and if it's a small key, that might go all the way down to Laser Bridge. And yeah, unfortunately for SeedyV, Hookshot Cave not paying out. We know this kind of convoluted chain that MrJohnnySpot has very deftly navigated starts over at Ice Rod Cave. So we are going to be rooting for SeedyV to find his way back over to that Ice Rod Cave sooner than later, but with mitts, it could be a while.
Yeah, this would be a really rough sequence of events for SeedyV. I mean, if we find Flute, we have a little bit more reason to go back that way, but it might be quite a while since we have so much Dark World available to us before we really check that stuff.
Although thinking about it, with Flute and mitts, Mirror was in Hype Cave. I think it's entirely possible that he can work his way around that book.
At which point it would be absolutely soul-crushing if something important was on one of the tablets.
Yeah, that would be bad. But like, if he finds Flute and is able to, parlay that into getting over to the mirror location or just finding the mirror because he has access to it right now, getting Flute would help kind of undo a lot of the progression advantage that MrJohnnySpot has right now, assuming that there's nothing insane on one of the tablets. Really interesting how this seed has opened up kind of quickly, and unfortunately Mummy Statue Room didn't look like it went very well for SeedyV. I don't think that was intentional, but thankfully he's going to start right back up here and get another shot at it, now with a few more hearts.
Yep, very dangerous place, and with only the fighter sword and no fire rod to work with, green mail, I mean, you gotta be careful here. It's very hard to kill these guys.
Yeah, they will stun with that blue boomerang, and they'll kill in one fire rod shot, and with half magic, I might be inclined to do either of those, if not super comfortable with manipulating those Gibdos, which can be really, really tough. There's only so much manipulation you can do for their AI. Some of it's just pure RNG. You just get a bad Gibdo pattern.
Well, we do get grabbed, but it's not a huge time loss, and it does get us on the other side of those mummies, so SeedyV is going to continue his check.
Yeah, that Wallmaster ride actually probably saves time, given how slow pushing that statue is. It's not quite pulling the statue, but it's not great.
Well, speaking of that, for those of you out there who are picking up this game, definitely want to always be holding a diagonal direction when you push statues, and as Maniacal mentioned, you do not want to pull the statues, it's much slower.
Yeah, there is a whole bunch of really, really tiny movement optimization in this game because of the nature of the way Link's movement is coded, and we're not going to get too into the mechanics of it. At least I hope, because we'll quickly exhaust my knowledge. But suffice to say that if you're picking up this game and really want to optimize what you're doing, there's a lot to learn, and these runners are taking advantage of a lot of that stuff.
I think I would say the most useful piece of technical information that runners out there can take advantage of, and really actually pull things off with. There are a couple of opportunities to do bomb jumps in this game, and they're usually like pixel perfect placements of both bombs and Link. So one thing about the way Link moves you might want to know is that Link's movement animation cycles between 2 and 1 pixels per second. Starts with 2 if you go left or up, and starts with 1 if you go right or down. So if you do pause buffers, you can use that knowledge to line yourself up perfect every time.
I'll say 2 and 1 pixels per frame, but otherwise absolutely nailed it.
Oh, did I say second? I do that
Indeed, you did. The wrong increment of time, of course, the game runs at 60 frames per second, so 2 pixels per second would be slow indeed. It would be a lot less fun of a game.
But yes, if you're pausing, if you want to increment by 1 frame, you can make that perfect measurement every time.
Absolutely.
We did get a Master Sword while I was blabbing about technical details, though. SeedyV picked it up.
Yep, front 4 of Thievestown paid out with a Master Sword so far. And looks like a death warp to get back out for SeedyV, choosing to not go the whole way through Thieves. Thieves just a blue or red pendant. I don't remember which one it is. I think it was blue, but I'm probably wrong. It was probably red. I think T-Rock was actually blue now thinking about it.
It's definitely...
But either way.
That's Skullwoods.
Yeah, same value. Yeah, green is Skullwoods. That's the one that's worth remembering. But MrJohnnySpot making his way into the back of Swamp now, finding the big key, but choosing to continue on here to the Argus fight. So it honestly doesn't take that much more time to re-enter if needed and get that big key chest if you're still looking for an item. I do expect MrJohnnySpot to not stop with Swamp Palace until he counts to 6 non-dungeon items.
Yep, and bringing up the point also that being that it's a 50-50 chance that Argus himself has the item, there's really no harm, no foul going to the back since it is a crystal dungeon. If it wasn't, then it might be more worth it to kind of make the gamble.
Yeah, absolutely. If he backtracks and finds out that big chest had, for instance, the compass. Well, he already has the compass, so the map is the other one. Sorry, I couldn't remember which you'd found. Then it would just be a waste of time, whereas here, if Argus has the item, that's all upside, and it means he won't need to re-enter, so that's one of the small gambles that you'll see runners do constantly. And the digging game for SeedyV, delivering that ice rod, does that count as a Kakariko rod?
It counts as a Village of Outcasts rod.
Ah, shucks.
But, I mean, I'll give you 50% on that. I mean, come on, it's in the same spot.
I was gonna say, like, really? I can't get partial for that, but okay, I'll take it.
I mean, you're still up 1/2 on me. I haven't made any other sweet calls. Let's just say fire. No. All right, so I really don't have a good call to make. Lamp is going to be in Palace of Darkness.
Oh man, Lamp could be really buried at this point with what we've seen, because Dark World access was wide open without Dark Rooms. So, and Hammer Argus strats here.
Extremely difficult to do.
Yeah, he's a little shifty. He scoots at a very awkward rate around the room, and his hitbox is pretty unintuitive.
And compounding this, trying to do bow strats is very difficult because you can only have 1 arrow on screen at a time. It will not let you shoot more arrows until it hits.
Wow, that's how weird Argus's hitbox is. It looked like it went completely through MrJohnnySpot's sprite and did no damage. I think Argus deals 4 damage if he connects, though, so MrJohnnySpot has to be careful. Or is Argus 2 still?
Oh, I'm sorry, what was it? Oh, it's 2 hearts of damage? Yes.
2? Okay. I was gonna say, this is nominally Crystal 2, even though normally we don't see it happen until much later because of the number of item dependencies. But there's that blue mail to keep MrJohnnySpot protected, so he did win that coin flip. So that will be the 6th item, and he won't have to come back in and get the map out of the big key chest, so that big key was a red herring.
So just to catch up with the craziness the tracker had to keep up with, we do actually already have Lamp from Village of Outcasts, so bust on that one. How about Vanilla Bumper Cave? No, not Vanilla Bumper Cave. We're going to find Cane of Samaria behind Bumper Cave.
Ooh, that is bold. Because
we've to make these calls late on.
We've not seen the cape. We've not seen. Man, if it's Cane on Bumper Cave, where's the cape? Well, I'll wait until we see that that cane up there to try and take a stab at it, but
It's tough to call after all this progression. I mean,
that is a bold prediction, especially because the world's so wide open at this point.
yeah, my next best guess would be like behind a tablet, but I'm actually hoping not for that, for SeeDV's sake.
Yeah, the runners have gone in very different directions with the seed, despite that they were just one screen apart from one another there for a moment. We almost had a high five.
Yeah, a little bit of a far five at that point.
And yeah, it looks like C is going to head over to Hype Cave, find that mirror, and MrJohnnySpot about to get an ice rod. Always feels good to find the ice rod, except for this seed, because Turtle Rock is a pendant. So this not the most welcome ice rod of all time.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some good uses for the weapon, but beyond that, I mean, besides fighting some tougher enemies like Lamolus when you don't have Fire Rod or Silver Arrows, not exactly something that's great to find in every situation.
Yeah, here, other than its offensive capability, which for the most part Hammer's pretty much better, other than the range, just because of the slowness and some of the lag of the actual ice rod animation.
Yeah, quite literally that.
Yeah. I'm always happy to find ice rod if I end up needing it, because it can be anywhere. But finding it when you know Turtle Rock's a pendant definitely feels like a hollow victory. And I think Johnny has Blue Tunic right now. I'm not familiar enough with Zero Suit Samus as a sprite to know how to read, but I think that this is the Varia suit for Zero Suit Samus, which would be the first suit upgrade. And then that when she turns purple, that will be Red Mail. That will be representative of the Gravity suit. So I think that's how to read the colors on that sprite without having played with it before.
You know what? I'm not 100% certain. I have a feeling someone in chat's going to correct both of us here, but I want to say that the regular Samus sprite has some differences as well. Like somewhere involved with one of these sprites, there's got to be a fusion suit. I feel like there is. Oh no, I think you were right. Actually,
Yeah.
Chat's confirming you.
Yeah, okay. Looks like I got it right. My my Metroid knowledge is bleeding over adequately, so it's good that that's delivering the goods right now.
Gotta
Meanwhile,
love
we
all
have...
the sprites we have, though. Like the Samus ones are fantastic.
Oh yeah, they are sweet. There's so many good ones. I have to use a Link-shaped sprite because there are so many visual cues from the sprite that I use to play. But I'm trying to branch out because there are just so many that I'm so excited for that are just homages to all of my favorite sort of Super Nintendo era and other games even. There's the Terra Esper sprite from Final Fantasy VI that I'm pretty hype about. I want to try that one out.
I've been
There's
seeing
a
that
bunch
one a
of
lot.
Yeah, everyone's kind of got their favorites.
And of course, we encourage everybody to do their bomb jumps with their sprite of choice if you want to use it in a tournament race. Ooh, the Murderodactyl's almost killing SeedyV over there.
Yeah, they're 3 hearts a hit, so he was 1 hit away. They're some bad birds. I'm not a fan of the Murderodactyls. When MrJohnnySpot encounters them, I will call them Chibi Ridleys, but that's only on the Super Metroid half of the screen.
That is the canon name. You can't tell me otherwise now.
100%.
Well, it's time to figure out what the Graveyard Ledge has for us today. Not too much.
Not today, Graveyard Ledge. Not today.
However, we will get the completion of Desert Palace here from MrJohnnySpot, although I don't believe he has the lamp, though, does he?
Yeah, he doesn't have the lamp yet, or a sword. He should be able to go fully through Eastern. Desert still is going to be boot locked, though. So I think it was just a little misstep. But oh, we're very in the dark right now, using that hook shot to find his way over to the small key. Got the small key, hook into that pot, and made it through, back over into the room of popos and anti-fairies. So far so good. Some of the easier dark rooms deftly navigated. Hopefully he can do the same to Gifted with Greenies when he gets there.
Yep, we'll also get to see a nice little, well, he was going to try a damage boost strat, had the Popo kind of hit him, so we're going to kill all the enemies in this room.
Yeah, some vanilla strats here. You got to kill all the enemies and the anti-fairies will scatter. Otherwise, there's a couple different ways you can set up some damage boosts to take advantage of the invulnerability frames to lift that pot and hit that switch, but this by far the safest way to do it.
Yeah, we'll see another situation where we can do something like that, sort of, in Misery Mire, where there's a switch in the middle of some spikes that will hopefully not take a lot of damage to. But that's the one thing to keep in mind about Link's invincibility frames. They last for a certain amount of time. You will not take damage through it. You can walk right through most enemies. But if you're trying to activate a switch, you also won't activate that switch until those frames expire. So keep that in mind, folks. You don't want to accidentally get yourself killed from that.
And some nice Ice Rod usage there to kind of get a Popo to track location here for MrJohnnySpot. We're going to see how he's able to manage and find the greenie he's looking for, this Igor, as SeedyV makes his way toward a 5-6 crystal. I don't remember which of those two it is. But I'm going to pick up that crystal, and what we know, now that I think about it, is that between the knowledge of the players, we could do Hera and we could do Ice Palace. So the progression from here might be in the Pyramid Fairy.
Yeah, I mean, those dungeons aren't that hard to find. They aren't that hard to get to at this point. I mean, we know where... I mean, we have Bombos, Half Magic. Very approachable dungeons from, an item standpoint. Although, I'm sure SeedyV would rather have the mail than all these extra hearts, and MrJohnnySpot probably hurting for hearts to go into a place like Ice Palace.
Yeah, Ice Palace, that can go a little rough sometimes. As someone who has very recently taken quite a few cold stare deaths in tournament matches, it's a painful one. So I don't wish that on anyone, especially these players. But MrJohnnySpot made it through that Eastern Darkroom that we saw SeedyV kind of skip out on. SeedyV onto Moldorm, see how well behaved Moldorm is, and unfortunately that first spin didn't count as a spin, it was more of a poke or a slash. And so now Moldorm is very angry.
Well, an interesting detail that I hadn't considered before, MrJohnnySpot still can't make it into Ice Palace without a sword.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I didn't even think he cannot use his Bombos medallion to kill that first Freezor. I was having trouble thinking of the enemy name there for a minute. But yeah, the first Freezor is going to block him from getting into Ice Palace, whereas SeedyV would be able to get over there, but wouldn't be able to clear it because of no hammer, and would have to fake flip and have the flippers. So for him, it's not yet in the logic.
Well, so, at first it almost kind of seemed like, MrJohnnySpot had a gigantic, item advantage here, but without that sword, there's quite a lot that he's going to be fishing around for.
Yeah, and it looks like SeedyV might be making that play over to the Ice Rod Cave. So we could be seeing SeedyV making up some of that ground once he finds this book. He might just be doing fake flippers, but no, he's blowing by. He is headed for Ice Rod Cave.
Yeah, he must know at this point that if Tower of Hera didn't have anything, we're running out of locations where this lamp could be, or at least whatever's going to lead us eventually to the lamp. Finding that book, I have to think the first play immediately is right to, Desert. May possibly consider getting the Bombos tablet on the way.
Yeah, so SeedyV already has the lamp, but MrJohnnySpot is going to be looking for his lamp for sure, and hopefully he finds it here soon. It's going to be down in Bombable Hut in Village Outcasts.
Oh, I mixed them up, didn't I?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a scramble. It was a very interesting thing where like there was this player that fit the quality of neither of the sides, and I was like, what does the progression for this player look like? It was kind of a fun sort of thought exercise.
Well,
But,
at this point, we do have a book, though, for SeedyV, so this is getting a lot closer.
And a nice fake flipper setup. So, the way that works for anyone unfamiliar, it's Japanese 1.0 exclusive, and if you... or actually, I think you can do this in English as well, sorry. Haven't confirmed. It may not be.
I think it's
I'm going to check myself on that for sure. But you have to screen transition basically 1 pixel away while you're jumping into water. So if you set yourself on the edge pixel, jump in and hold right or left.
Ooh.
And unfortunately, that's a side effect that I'll get to in just a second. But if you screen transition, it circumvents the check for whether you have flippers or not, and so the game will let you swim, but if you get hit by anything, the game will try and do what it normally does when you jump into water. It'll check for flippers, and will try and place you back on land from which you jumped in. If it fails to do that, you'll soft lock, and if you touch any directional button, you'll cause an infinite screen scroll and soft lock the game. For Rando, we've kind of coded that out so that it'll turn into that death. So SeedyV unfortunately taken a fake flipper's death. So we'll have to wait a little while longer to see him get up that way. But
And it's almost kind of a blessing in disguise. We didn't find anything really in Hobo, so I mean, could be worse, but he may end up making the time sync later to check it twice.
yeah, that Zora outside Waterfall Cave is quite a sniper sometimes, so if you don't make a really perfect swim straight up from that portal, he can get you, and I'm sure that'll be weighing heavily on SeedyV's mind.
But we are going to make the right play, though, heading into Desert. This will lead to the flippers, which will hopefully circumvent that entire thing anyway.
Yeah, once he's got flippers, not fake flippers, once he's got those finger webs, the Japanese name for the flippers, those fake flipper woes will be long gone.
It is interesting, though, to see MrJohnnySpot heading up to Death Mountain. Definitely a logical choice at this point. This will get us to the swords, which will give us a lot more accessibility throughout the rest of the world. So this is a very narrow window for SeedyV to start getting back into this.
Yeah, that was the smoothest pun if it was intentional, and I loved it. So props. But this is
partial credit for that.
This is absolutely. We got to hand out credit somewhere. But yeah, this is absolutely the next thing for MrJohnnySpot to do within the logic. Having found that lamp, he's going to go right up here and get all of these lovely item locations. Maybe also dive into Hera, get that 5/6 crystal. It's a crystal dungeon he can complete now, all fully within the logic, and we may see some other checks here, some new locations. But I think SeedyV has actually filled out Death Mountain as far as we know.
As best as I can tell, I mean, we had everything available to us in Dark Death Mountain, so that should be, I mean, besides Cane of Burna Cave.
Yeah, I don't think Cane of Burna has come online for either runner yet.
Now, if they had a potion, or if they had, you know, Cane of Burna itself, or Cape, then it would be accessible to us. But logically speaking, we don't need it.
I'll point out what just happened on MrJohnnySpot's screen. Walking over using the book to check that tablet. That's a new piece of information we didn't have. Unfortunately, that tablet not having anything now that SeedyV also has the book, I can say unfortunately and not feel unconscionable about it. But that was a new piece of information for us. And because MrJohnnySpot does not yet have the Master Sword, or any sword, let alone the Master Sword, he was not able to actually get that item, but knowing is more than half the battle in A Link to the Past Randomizer for some of these locations, so just being able to read with the Book of Medora, what those locations house, is very important.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if it ended up being a situation where we didn't have that book until, like, say, the right half of Death Mountain, we may end up walking past that section twice, whereas with just a simple check, we get to spend a little bit less time and not have to worry about doubling back at all.
Yeah, and this is going to feel real bad for SeedyV. Getting that shovel and then immediately taking the long route up to Zora is... we might see some rage slashes, because he actually has a sword to do that when he finally goes to that dig spot. This feels a little bad, but we are going to pay Zora for the scam.
Yep, the powder, probably the most expensive powder on Earth, but it is some safety, so it's not completely unwelcome. It's just not the progression we wanted. You know, Magic Bat is in the cards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was gonna say the powder might actually be the progression we need, but we don't yet know, and it's not yet available to Seedy because the hammer is yet unfound. To answer question in chat, the dig spot in this was Ice Rod, which we're hoping isn't necessary.
And then the other dig spot was Flippers. Well, we're going to get some nice hammer strats out of MrJohnnySpot against Moldorm. Pretty easy fight if you know how the hammer hitbox works and how Moldorm's hitboxes work. When you're using the hammer, you're getting pretty tight in, but easy to fall off as well, so only need 3 hammer strikes and we should be clear.
In Hammer Moldorm, the pedantics of dig spot versus dig game had escaped me for a moment. And so yeah, the dig spot, the thing that the shovel unlocks, is the flippers. The dig game, where you buy a shovel and get to use it to dig stuff up, that one, that was the Ice Rod. And we are going to see that Magic Bat check. Hopefully we see the Magic Bat check. But SeedyV is hopping into the well.
Probably one of the longest jumps I've ever seen in my life, actually.
Yeah, this is a sick air on this jump.
The NBA is wondering what kind of growth hormones he has in his legs right now.
I had a jump like this the other night down to Moldorm 2, but that was my SD to SNES crashing on me. And so I hope that that's not what's happening here.
I have a sneaking suspicion that this isn't stream lag.
Yeah, this is... Hopefully it's not like a capture card crash or something. I don't see any sort of emulator markings. And the blurring on the pixels looks like this is probably console capture, so...
I almost kind of wonder if it's some weirdness with that portal in the jump.
Yeah, hopefully we're back back on it soon. Meanwhile, we get to watch MrJohnnySpot in Variasuit explore Death Mountain. Sword soon to be found. But yeah, it looks like with the timer frozen that it is a stream offline thing, so hopefully he'll be back soon. There's that Titan's Mitt and that getting some glory slashes from MrJohnnySpot celebrating.
Yeah, celebrating. Yeah, that's
feeling so good to have that sword at only 53 minutes.
Such a jubilous occasion.
Yeah. Using it immediately to dispatch mini Moldorms. The best use for a sword.
Yeah, there's not much more value you're going to get out of any item in the game. Mini Moldorms are the most hated by most people, but I'm also partial to hating Kadongos.
Dead Rock's top my list. And it's not close. But mini Moldorms are a distant but decisive second.
Yeah, I can't fault you there. Dead Rock's also a supreme pain in anybody's derriere.
Yeah, so I see some some differing opinions in the chat. So if you have a least favorite enemy in this game, feel free to chime in so we can remember just how much of jerks the programmers of this game were with enemy design.
Bonus points if you have a creative name.
As we hope that SeedyV finds his way back. MrJohnnySpot unfortunately missing that. That's a fairly narrow frame window for that hook shot. It's a little bit tough of a trick to get, but just taking the intended route to get the Super Bunny Cave items.
Well, the worst thing about all this is we don't get to find out what's on Magic Bat.
No, we don't find out what's on Magic Bat, and I've had this happen during races before where my stream goes down, and it feels awful. It throws you off your game, and it causes a time delay as you try and debug technical issues where you worry that your opponents are all progressing, or your opponent is progressing in a 1v1. It feels awful, so I'm hoping that SeedyV isn't experiencing any major difficulties, and hopefully he's back soon.
Though, another stunning development, though, if it weren't actually a crash, we would all be thinking that he found the way to do a ledge hop hover.
Ooh. I don't know the utility of such a thing, but I can imagine there would be people very interested in... they would be finding uses for such a device.
It would be the gold mine for flipperless swamp.
Ooh. Flipperless swamp.
Not that that's that useful, though. I mean, it just saves going to Zora.
That sounds useful to me. It also saves going to Bombable Hut and Sea House.
Yeah, that's true. But that is the holy grail of skips for the NMG speedrun, where we're probably never going to find something like that. That won't be considered a major glitch.
Yeah, that and bootless super speed are yet elusive. But looks like MrJohnnySpot is heading from the 4 portal, basically, back over to Dark World. I wonder where he's going right now.
Yeah, it doesn't seem immediately obvious. I mean, the first place I was thinking was, back into Swamp. I think we were missing a couple of items from there, but we already got all 6. So at this point, have we already checked Catfish?
Ooh, I don't know if MrJohnnySpot's been up to Catfish.
But might be heading to Palace of Darkness.
That would be my best guess, especially now it looks like he is headed over that way.
Well, we have pretty much everything we need. We got bow, we got lamp, hammer, we do have a sword.
Yeah, this seems like a good play. Well, we're distracted by the cover skills. This pod play seems like a pretty good play now that MrJohnnySpot has gotten up to Death Mountain and gotten the items up there. This was open before that, but this seems like another reasonable decision to have made.
Yeah, we've had a lot of these items for quite some time now. Now, not all of our runners got to it at the same time, but we have more than enough rupees, so, with this being full clearable, this is very likely where we're going to find our progression.
Yeah, we'll have to see what MrJohnnySpot finds here. Pod, usually just a bunch of keys here at the front end, so usually not a ton going on early on. But yeah, we got a key mirror here for MrJohnnySpot is showing up big, and this is an interesting pod route, actually, going straight for the right side after finding that small key.
Yep, it's always a better gamble if you have that bow, because bow lock is not fun. I heard recently that there is a way you can abuse a potion to move the camera to despawn a red Igor. Is that true?
So I don't know exactly how that works, because it's not something that I've myself learned to use. It's on my list of things to get to. But what you do is you use a potion and you're able to manipulate or use a bottle more, is my understanding. Not necessarily a potion, but a bottle, in such a way that you can despawn the closed door. I think all the Igors are still there.
That's really interesting, though, because that's a relatively newer tech. I mean, there have been glitches like that have been out in the community. The one that comes to mind is Yasuhira's Bottle Adventure, but that's a completely different thing. Major glitch sort of territory. So that's definitely something I think most people should try and find out, because that sequence break could potentially get you, somewhere that is normally bow locked.
Yeah, I'm getting confirmation from the chat, or a rebuttal from chat, from Dr. Bob Tastic saying it has to be a potion, and that Kaweru has provided generously a clip that explains how it's done. I'll have to check the VOD out later. My computer would probably die if I tried to watch a clip while commentating, because it's actually a potato that I'm broadcasting from right now. So, thank you. I'm interested to learn, and I apologize for not having that technical knowledge yet, but we've allowed that glitch to be used in that circumstance because that was already a sequence break that you could do by hovering for purposes of Palace of Darkness, and there is the flute.
Rootin', tootin', flutin' pretty soon.
Yeah, we're going to hopefully soon hear everybody's favorite avian anthem.
Well, so we still have a lot here that we can do, so MrJohnnySpot's not going to put that to use just yet, but we absolutely will probably do that immediately after this. I don't know why anybody would go anywhere else.
Yeah, the flute is such a valuable mobility item, and also being able to go check into sort of the Mire area and overworld over there. That seems pretty high on my list, personally, and I imagine it would also probably be pretty high on MrJohnnySpot's list. And there we get to see what red mail Samus looks like. That looks like an approximation of Gravity Suit to me. Also green hair, because, that's
old school.
Is green hair a Justin Bailey throwback from Metroid 1?
I believe so, although I didn't play Metroid 1. I'm a heathen, I know, but I believe that is the original sprite colors.
I think so. It's been a long time since I've Justin Bailey'd. That was how I beat Metroid 1 way back in the day. It actually took until, I think I was like 12 or 13 before I actually went back and fully completed Metroid 1 and like brute forced and like made the maps myself. And I committed to doing it. It was a ton of fun. But man, that game is confusing. And we're getting confirmation it is Justin Bailey.
Well, that's one thing you can count on in this community. People of all different disciplines in both speed gaming and casual gaming, and just love for gaming in all forms. You're going to find it represented pretty well in the sprites, but also in pretty much the homage that we paid to classic Zelda.
Yeah, there's a cool rando mode that got rolled out fairly recently that is almost a complete homage to Zelda 1, retro mode, where firing your bow takes rupees, and there's a number of other things that are kind of changed for keys are not dungeon specific, and it's a whole new logic to playing the game. So if you're a rando fan and like these different modes, and like old game throwbacks, that's absolutely something to check out as well.
And of course, there are numerous other modes you can try. Triforce Hunt's a pretty fun one, but you can also even play an entrance randomizer or a key sanity where it mixes up the key locations if you're not feeling the retro yourself. But yeah, there's tons to do with the randomizer. So this one standard randomized swords mode that we're showing during the tournament, most popular mode that people run, but sky's the limit. You can even play a customized randomizer. We got confirmation from Carcad in chat that retro mode is an inspired feature from watching Jay Coper. That's interesting.
Yeah, Zelda 1, another Zelda game with a fantastic randomizer. Also, I would be remiss if I didn't mention Zelda 2. I think there's a Link's Awakening DX that may still be in beta. And I heard something recently about an Ocarina of Time randomizer, so the Zelda series really getting a lot of randomizer treatment lately, and I am hyped to see how all these turn out.
I know that OOT has had a randomizer for a while, but I don't think that it's been out of beta for very long, if it has even been at all, so that's probably a pretty recent development.
Yeah, I remember a few days ago, I was streaming, and I looked, and I was going to host someone doing a Zelda game because I was finishing up randomizer practice, and I saw 4,800 viewers for Ocarina of Time, and I thought, what is going on with Ocarina? And someone in my chat said it's Ocarina of Time randomizer, and so that's my source. So very reputable. No,
Hey,
the
it's
folks in
better
my
than
chat are
nothing,
great, but
It seems like we missed a big key from MrJohnnySpot here.
yeah, I think it's the vanilla spot. Looks like he skipped that, and yep, there it is closed. So we're gonna have a vanilla big key here.
Extra frustrating.
Unfortunately, getting the whole way down to that last hallway, or at least through the turtle room before realizing it. And there we go. Now we've got our big key, and we're gonna go get that map that we really need from the Helmasaur King. That's absolutely why we go kill Helmasaur King. Has nothing to do with the crystal that he's also got.
Yeah, that map's pretty coveted. I mean, we have a Palace of Darkness. We need to find our way through it. You know, we have a mirror, but that's not that useful without some light.
Yeah, like mirror only in the light. We got a lamp, but it's kind of spooky. We need a map. And taking an interesting route back. Kind of going right side here. I'm not sure what inspired this routing choice. I think it would have been a little faster to mirror back out, but this will get MrJohnnySpot there, so back to Sexy Statue. We'll see how that push looks today.
Hoping and pray. Oh.
Pretty good. It was a moderately attractive statue. It made its way to the block, and that's the most, or the switch, and that's the most important part.
It was like nice dinner, but maybe not call back again for a second date block. We're moving back into the basement, though. We got a bunch of turtles to deal with.
I'm being reminded that the map could also be in the big key chest. Helmasaur King could be an item.
So this could actually have some value for us, besides, of course, the crystal that nobody really cares about.
Yeah. So it's possible we'll get something that is a lot less exciting than the map from Helmasaur King. So we may have to go back in to get the map out of big key chest if it's required for MrJohnnySpot. But we'll see. We'll find out very soon, hopefully.
Just gonna say it now, in before Canis Samaria.
Ooh. Is that the prediction?
I've already messed it up once, so, you know, what's the harm?
I mean, we still don't know what powder is. Or magic bat.
Man, that hurts.
I want to know. I gotta know. SeedyV, please show us. I hope he comes back soon. No, really, I hope everything's going okay for SeedyV. Thankfully, a lot of this, I imagine he's still playing and trying to frantically debug this, and so hopefully he'll have a local recording and some arrow strats here on Helmasaur. I've seen a few of those today.
Yeah, with Fighter Sword, it's definitely a really good fallback. I mean, the alternative is to try to do sword spins, which is not going to get you very far very fast, so definitely a safe strategy to use here.
Yeah, or hammer strats Helmasaur, which is just miserable.
Yeah, you have a very small window to work with, and one of the things that really stinks about that is normally you have a Master Sword in this fight, which extends the range of the hammer hitbox by a little bit, but with the Fighter Sword, you don't get that advantage. It's actually no better, so it's very difficult to hit that, as is even harder with Fighter Sword.
Yeah, and MrJohnnySpot did get that map there from Helmasaur King, but choosing to come back in to check what other item rests in the big key chest.
Now, of course, chat, MrJohnnySpot has no idea what's going on with SeedyV, unless like there was some kind of forfeit declared when there's no internet, which we doubt happened. So
Nope.
exhausting every location here, probably trying to figure out, hey, what have I missed at this point?
Yeah, and the big chest is definitely one of the options. So it's good knowing that this is an item. Heading back in, all jokes aside.
Come on,
I like this call. And so, choosing to go through the maze and getting rewarded with silver arrows. Would have been nice to have those for Helmasaur King, but they're a good find.
Ooh, that is rough, because that would have been 7 less arrows.
I think 6. I think, does Helmasaur King only take 1?
He takes 1 silver arrow, yes.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, so that would have saved a full 7 arrows. That's awesome.
Interesting caveat about that. Arrows do quite a lot of damage. You need, for example, 4 to kill a Lamolus. It's pretty strong, but in terms of like raw numbers, if we were to take like say a fighter sword as being 1 damage, silver arrows do 100. So very powerful weapon.
Yeah, there's, now that I think about it, only one enemy that takes more than 1 silver arrow that is not Ganon. And that's Vitreous, who just, the big eye of Vitreous happens to have just an absurd amount of HP. If you ever have to do Fighter Sword Vitreous, have fun. I think it's like 64 slashes or something absurd.
Not very fun.
Yeah, enjoy your Swag Duck Anthem. If you like swag and you like ducks, throw those swag ducks in the chat.
And with that, the goose is loose.
MrJohnnySpot doing a dance is gonna take a flight somewhere, probably Mire area? Nope. Right over to 8. Looks like we're Ice Palace bound.
That's too bad. I really thought he had 2 tickets to Paradise. This is definitely not that.
No, this is 2 tickets to Trio of Eyes. Almost Paradise.
Not bad, not bad. A+. Well, we do have that sword now, so Bombos is on the table. We're going to switch right to it.
Freezor down. And with half magic, we're not going to have too much trouble getting through here, hopefully. This is the site of one of the most important minor glitches as far as time saves.
Yeah, that Ice Palace bomb jump is gigantic. It's a little different in Randomizer, though, because routing is still impacted here. Whether or not we choose to, say, clear out this entire dungeon, we're still missing some important items here, so it would be very strange to see MrJohnnySpot not grab as much as possible before finding the go mode stuff. But he may still opt to do the bomb jump because you can still make your way through the dungeon anyway. Just prepping the block drop for the room before Cold Stare. Very handy extra technique, but you can definitely do this dungeon without a bomb jump.
Oh, absolutely. The vanilla way to do the dungeon is kind of to do 2 loops through it and hitting some switches. We really cut a ton of it out with the quote-unquote NMG approach to the dungeon. But sort of skipping the bomb jump if you're getting all the items is something that's viable if you have Canis Samaria. But without Canis Samaria, I think we're going to see the bomb jump here. MrJohnnySpot was going for a pretty cool 2-bomb strat here to set the switches up so he won't have to hit the switch in this conveyor room coming up. But unfortunately, not ending up in the right spot to end up on the good side of those pegs. And so he's going to have to hit this switch in the next room. Looks like he is going to probably set up for that bomb jump.
We also got to see a really nice thing, a fast trap for that Stalfos Knight room. Interesting caveat about those Stalfos Knights. Oh, we have SeedyV back, and also an Ice Palace.
Ice Palace hype. We have no idea what SeedyV found, but it sent him right to Ice Palace. So I hope it's good. It looks like he's got some blue mail and a Master Sword. And I'll be looking forward to a pause menu. Looks like we got a level 2 shield as well.
Yeah, if you want to make some guesses, I mean, this is about as random as it's going to get. We have no idea.
Yeah, this was This is item randomizer in the truest sense. But looks like the iced tea room, so he's a little ahead in Ice Palace. Yeah, we could suppose he probably has the hammer if he's in Ice Palace, unless he's the madman. But he was over in Ice Tea. Let's see, we're gonna get that menu. Yeah, there's the hammer. Got his hook shot. And our shoutouts to our tracker. Just like, yep, we got these crystals, we got these items. Staying on top of things. I think that it's Space Cowboy doing our tracking tonight.
Yes, it is. And props to Space Cowboy. I mean, that's tough to keep up with, but already in chat pointing out that we've already finished Palace of Darkness because we have those silver arrows.
Yeah, that's doing excellently. So big shout outs to all the folks who are kind of in the unheralded roles. I'll try to make sure they're heralded roles during my time commentating, because they can so often fly under the radar. Folks who are doing restreaming and tracking and making sure these matches get out to you with such quality content. Really, really indispensable, and a great job Space Cowboy's doing tonight.
And of course, we always want to shout out Thiesel, who really runs the Speed Gaming channels, making all this possible. Also, we're looking very similar here in Ice Palace. It almost seems like our runners are pretty much tied up. But we still have to see where our crystals are. Haven't had a chance to take a look at that. I think we have 1 or 2 more crystals than we did before. Do you remember where we found the red mail?
Where was Red Mail? Gosh. I do not remember where Red Mail was. I think it was in Pod in the Dark Maze, though.
Ooh, now that'd be interesting if CD had opted to do a bomb jump instead of dealing with that Dark Maze. That might be one reason why we don't have it yet. Because I think you're right. I'm pretty sure that's where it was. Looks like SeedyV is going to pick up what little health we can, possibly forgetting that there are anti-fairies in the room north of him.
Yeah, looks like he might be headed on in, and MrJohnnySpot, following up on what SeedyV did, and we didn't announce it nearly as much as we should have. That is Cane of Samaria.
Whoa.
That was all the way tucked away there in Ice Palace. That is a big find.
So both of our runners probably feeling really great about their choice to come in here at this time. However, we only have Master Sword for Cold Stare here on SeedyV's side with very little health to spare. So this is a tough fight to do. Gotta watch out for the hugs. The hugs are going to be a lot worse than the ice.
Yeah, it's... Oof, he is one hug away. Thankfully, he got some iframes from that ice cube. This is a clench, so I'm just gonna shut up.
I'm having trouble doing the same thing. Oh god, this is close.
The trick here is you gotta keep moving.
I gotta wonder
hit
how
move.
MrJohnnySpot's gonna do this with Fighter Sword. You could try Hammer, but that's like suicide.
Oh, and SeedyV clutches it out for that burrito. That was a really nice, nice fight there.
Must have been really hungry.
Now we get to watch MrJohnnySpot. Looks like he's going to lead in with the spin and letting the puffs out of the corner. It would be really tough to contain him there with just the Fighter Sword.
Yeah, less reach, less damage. I mean, at this point, this is going to be a really long fight for MrJohnnySpot, and we have to avoid pretty much all damage. Nice to have the red mail here.
Half Magic not doing a whole lot when all you've got's Ice Rod. Bombos will get you through that first phase, but no Fire Rod, no invulnerability item.
We'd almost wish we had a potion at least, but we do have a good bee, which is not going to do much for us here.
It looks like we are menued over, or MrJohnnySpot's menued over to Hammer.
So Hammerhead's very tough to hit, but much more powerful. They're on par with Tempered Sword slashes.
Oh no, SeedyV has left his big bomb behind. He got his 5 and 6 crystals.
Ooh,
I was trying to check the Pyramid Fairy, but he hopped off a ledge. It doesn't behave quite like the chest does.
Did that in MG once. That was pretty rough. One thing you can do though is if you have the hookshot equipped, you can actually start dashing if you have boots after you've hookshotted.
Yeah, and if you've killed Aghanim and have the mirror, you can take a slightly different route. But unfortunately, it's just the long, slow walk. As MrJohnnySpot's still battling with 3 puffs, down to 2 hearts. So hopefully some of these puffs go away soon.
Yep, one nice thing that if he does destroy one of them, the death animation will slow down the screen enough for him to line up his next attack. That being said, this is still a long climb up.
Yeah, he's using some top strats here. If the ice cube falls at the very top of the screen, it will not shatter. It'll either shatter into 4 cardinal particles or 4 diagonal particles, and it's completely random, and double kill!
Wow!
That was a nice spin there. Oh! And single kill. That's no good.
Worked so hard for that.
He was so close. Oh yeah, the frustration slashes are out in force and deserved. Man, I thought he was through it. I think he thought he was through it too. And
yeah, I mean at that point, like you can't really come back and say you have some kind of weapon.
Yeah, it's a done deal there for Cold Stare for the moment. So I missed what was actually in the pyramid. I was so wrapped by that Cold Stare fight. Pyramid was a bust. Chat has our back here. So thankfully, MrJohnnySpot won't be missing the critical progression by dipping out on Ice Palace.
Yo, but shout outs to Eidetic Memory in chat. Very much appreciated.
Yeah, chat is what has kept me afloat in most of this commentary. I just miss items left and right. I'm like, hey chat, what happened?
What just happened? We just got Vanilla Quake.
Yeah, Catfish throwing out that medallion. Where's SeedyV gonna go? And a good comment that second sword might have been from the bat. We wanted to know what was it, the powder.
Well, I know that he already had the second sword, so it couldn't have been that.
Oh, he did have the second sword. Okay, where was that from?
Someone in chat mentioning thieves, possibly. I don't remember seeing it though.
Oh wow. I guess MrJohnnySpot hasn't been into thieves. Man, I am struggling.
Well, you know, this is interesting though. Catfish led straight to Mire.
Yeah. With that red cane from Ice Palace and MrJohnnySpot grabbing a blue potion, not a bad call.
And we'll also get a Death Warp out of SeedyV for a refill.
Yeah. Not a bad call. Not going to quite get him sword beams for Mire 2, but is going to get him some more health to work with until he can make it to that anti-fairy in whatever the large main hub of Mire is. There's an anti-fairy right there under the pot, and so I think we'll probably see him take that route through and fill his health up there.
Oh, and Sick Kid has a Master Sword.
Ooh. That's quite the haul for Sick Kid.
Now, I know that SeedyV's had a bottle for a while, but I'm not sure if that's where he got the sword upgrade, so there could be a tempered on the table here for SeedyV.
Yeah, and passing right by that anti-fairy, I was sure he was going to take that for the health refill. But heading right over to the bridge chest, and looks like MrJohnnySpot is going to run back this Ice Palace play. I think that he has put his eggs in the Pyramid Fairy basket at this point, and I can't blame him. There's not a ton of spots left, and especially taking a death to cold like that so deep in the fight, like that's just really frustrating, and so it's good to see him bouncing back.
Yeah, and then to turn around and get that, sword. And I'm getting confirmation from Tracker Space Cowboy that we have not done Sick Kid yet for SeedyV, so there is a Tempered Sword in the mix. Probably wishes he had it now.
Yeah, Tempered Sword, probably the most important. I guess it's equally important with Master Sword as far as sword upgrades, in terms of what it nets you. And I mean, with Master Sword you can complete the game, but Tempered Sword, so much better than Gold Sword.
Oh yeah, it's a hefty upgrade, and compared to Gold Sword, where you don't get any added benefit for your sword spins, you do get a little bit of extra range, which is nice. But at the end of the day, I mean, unless you're worried about Ganon or Gauntlet and Ganon's Tower, you don't get a lot of mileage out of Gold Sword usually. It's good for the try neck.
So something that I did not know previously that was pointed out earlier to me by TGH, who knows much more about this game than I do. Gold Sword actually generates additional lag. And MrJohnnySpot needs to be careful with his health. He does have that blue potion, but I don't think he wants to use it right now. So hopefully he can get, looks like a good setup for that bomb jump. And there is another heart in this room that he can pick up, so nicely done. And Seedy is headed over to the vanilla big key in Mire.
Which means we have not found a whole lot yet. They're very rarely ever going to come here on purpose.
Now, if you found both items and the big key, you're not looking for this spot, but so far there's still something to get from Mire, and SeedyV needs to be brisk, because okay, there we go. We beat the torch timer.
Wrong dungeon for Ice Tea. I don't know what you're talking about. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one really good example of where it'd be nice to have the Fire Rod, because we could take advantage of 1.0 being not perfect. But overall, if you gotta find a big key somewhere, at least we find it. Better than, ooh, that was maps. So yeah, we're still missing items.
Yeah, and it looks like, oh, that is a cute bunny sprite there, that Metroid. I like that. I always like to see what the bunny sprite is.
And this one is not the last one. It's not in captivity, so wrong franchise, but fantastic sprite.
Yeah, the Galaxy piece once the Triforce is restored.
There you go. We can hit two birds with one stone.
We gotta find all of the pieces and reunite them.
Well, so if we're trying to make comparisons to bosses, I mean, who's the best analog for, say, like Ridley or, Kraid?
Ridley is absolutely the pterodactyls. For sure. Those things are just jerks. And they look like Ridleys. But the other item, or the item there in the big chest, just the single arrow. We got the Botwoon Landmolus analog. That one's pretty strong.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on that one. I guess I could say the Helmosaur King looks kind of like Ridley.
Ooh, I can see it. See where you're going with that one.
Well, we have another agonizing fight here with Cold Stare, but it's not going to be twice as fast with the Master Sword. We really don't have anything else we can do to speed us up besides, having Clairvoyance to go to Thieves Town.
Yeah, and thankfully, that Master Sword, while it doesn't speed it up by a factor or two, it makes it substantially safer.
Yep, and those sword spins are basically tempered slashes, so I mean, it's definitely a much more approachable fight than, say, Fire Sword. And not too long from now, we'll have the Silver Arrow fight against Vitreous. Definitely not enough health to do some kind of damage boost, and not with Master Sword.
And Dr. Bobtastic saying Argus kind of does look like Phantoon. Yeah, the behaviors are very different, but
Yeah, like the
I'll back that one.
And I mean, we do have a hook shot, and it's pretty much a grapple beam, right?
Yes, that's the farm beam for sure.
Shared universe confirmed.
The question is SeedyV in Go mode? And SeedyV doesn't yet have boots, and Desert Small Key is on the torch, so I'm gonna say no.
Who knows mode?
But he's close. Because Desert's a crystal.
Yeah, and he's gonna go right to it. I mean, book. You know, we just needed a fire source. We have the lamp now. Lambolas could have those boots.
But Desert's boots locked, so we can't get to Lambo.
Oh, right, because we would have to steal the key. But no, I mean, we can head to the back though. But that would be.
He needs the big key to get to the back, and he'll need the small key off the torch to do it. So.
Yes. Okay, so yeah, we absolutely can't go there until we find those boots. So then we still do need boots then.
Yeah, we are boots from Go mode, as far as I know. It looks like MrJohnnySpot's going to turn the dwarf in, and there is that tempered from the sick kids, so Seedy did get his Master Sword elsewhere. Which, I guess he had the Master Sword early, and just bombs from the Dwarven Smiths. But we might find out very soon. Yes, we're going to finally learn what the Magic Bat has.
All right, now I don't think it's going to be anything significant. I didn't see any major changes between the two screens, but no way to find out than to see it yourself.
I've been waiting so long, I gotta know what this Magic Bat is.
Big 20, big 20, big 20, big 20. Ah!
Arrow capacity, heck yeah! That's exactly what nobody was looking for there.
Talk about your pure unadulterated value.
Yeah, that wasn't worth the wait, unfortunately.
But we get a screen high five out of these two. I want to say that Seedy already grabbed the purple chest, didn't he?
I do believe so. And this is a very interesting...
Whoa!
What just happened?
We had a moment of... I don't know, telepathy between the two. Because they both realized at the exact same time that those are in there.
What just happened? That is probably Go mode for SeedyV. And it's almost Go mode for MrJohnnySpot. He needs to get over to Catfish. And what was going on with that peg puzzle?
I mean, they've had it for a while, you know. I mean, that's not new news. Although chat pointing out that Seedy didn't have hammer earlier, so I mean that kind of makes sense. But what an interesting development. Now, this is really bad for MrJohnnySpot, though, because as we've already pointed out, you know, we do have a pretty decent, advantage with the dungeon. Swamp Palace is now a Go mode dungeon, much easier for SeedyV to get through, and having to catch up with Ice Palace and, you know, that kind of progression. I don't know, though. I mean, Misery Mire is much longer than Go mode Swamp Palace.
Yeah, with SeedyV already done with Mire, really it's Go mode Swamp versus Desert. I think Seedy is is in the lead now. We don't know how he got there, but I'd say he's definitely there.
And the boots, of course, make it much more difficult to catch up any kind of gap here. So, at this point, SeedyV's got an easy back half a desert. Both of these runners have to do back half a desert, but definitely, I'd say about a half a dungeon lead for SeedyV at this point. What an interesting swing.
Yeah, the only rub here is the lack of fire rod, but so if it's right side, he's going to need to do that bomb jump, which is kind of a difficult bomb jump in the right side torch room. But honestly, it's kind of like the GT hover at Moldorm too. Like, it's better than searching the world for the item that you're missing. Like, it's better than going looking for hookshot. Is just sucking it up and doing the hard thing.
Which a hover would be absolutely insane.
But it's probably faster to fail the hover 10 times than it is to go look for hookshot.
Oh, absolutely. Particularly if you made it all the way up there.
Yeah. So at some point you just kind of are like, well, I guess this is happening today. I might fall for 10 minutes, but we'll get across this eventually.
So there are a handful of other places that we could potentially find fire rod, though. Did we check all of Swamp Palace when we went through on MrJohnnySpots? Yeah, we had to have, or at least got all the items.
Yeah, he full cleared Swamp, and recognizing he didn't have that key dash, so that was good. He's going to be following SeedyV's footsteps here, going to kill that landmow. The triple bot wound at the back of desert. Going to be soon dispatched, and Seedy is going to go over and go mode Swamp Palace, which always feels good.
Absolutely, yeah. Just going to steal that key and run with it.
It looked like he got his quick warp there too, so nice setup there. SeedyV showing off some good game knowledge.
Yeah, quick warps are a pretty simple thing, but it sounds more complicated than it is.
Absolutely.
The game does the warp a little faster if there's less things to load on the screen. So there's a certain position for the camera that you have to put it in. It's free every time as long as you know where it is that you have to be standing. And kind of finicky to get it, but I mean, it's pretty precise. It's always consistent, though.
And we have an ice rod landmow fight happening. So this is always nice to see.
A little rare. It's equivalent to a tempered sword, so very strong strategy to be using here.
Mm-hmm. Looks like we're on to our 4th round here for MrJohnnySpot, but getting through, I think it was a 4-round landmow, so a nice fight there. Getting that compass. Now he'll know where the boss is in Desert Palace.
Well, so I gotta wonder, I mean, let's just say it is Fire Rod and, our runners don't feel comfortable with the Torches 2 room using Lamp. I mean, where's it gonna be? Is that gonna be, Ganon's Tower? Is that gonna be Turtle Rock?
Oof. If Fire Rod is buried deep in Turtle Rock, like, if it's a Laser Bridge Fire Rod, I am going to feel bad for having even mentioned that, but B, it's that I don't think that it's obvious that you go look for that. So, it looks like MrJohnnySpot might be headed over in the direction of Catfish, doing some of these northern overworld checks, but he's not in Dark World, so he doesn't have the portal, so I'm a little worried. But hopefully he jogs his memory and gets that Catfish going.
Yeah, and we know that the Graveyard Ledge isn't of any importance or value, so we're probably going to waste a little bit of time on the way to Catfish, but that does seem to be directly where we're going. After your regularly scheduled bonk rocks, of course.
Who doesn't like bonk rocks? Sometimes there's fairies in them, sometimes there's chests with mushrooms.
Drugs.
I'm actually really hopeful that those drugs alter his mind state and get him over to Catfish post haste.
That's the right way to look at it. Might be another 6 hours before we finish the seed, though, at that rate.
And he's got to press Y. And powdering the witch for good luck.
You know, I mean, good karma in the world. You do that, and, you know, it comes back in spades. You gotta hope.
And unfortunately, just triple boom. So let's continue to will Mr. JohnnySpot to go check that one-off location of catfish. It could be a little while before he finds his way over there. Just because it's very reasonable to leave that location until very, very late if it's not a clean one to route in early on. And it looks like
phase 2 here.
Yeah, Seedy is going for silver. It was on Argus phase 2 and getting him on the third try there. That's where the red mail was.
Okay. Well, so that would be the last crystal dungeon for SeedyV. So, folks, I think you know what that means, right?
I think I know what time it is.
Well, what time is it, Maniacal?
You want to tell us what time it is?
It sure seems like a time where we're going to make a guess about something. I mean, it's not the lottery itself, but anyway, in Ganon's Tower, where we're heading next, folks, because we want to make sure we have time to do that before I blab on forever about it, we are going to guess the location of the big key in Ganon's Tower. The first runner to get there is the one that determines which number in the order of 1 through 22 it is. So once you see that start command, go ahead and put your guess in. Everyone can take part in this game. However, if you'd like to be on our leaderboards, go ahead and throw a subscribe down to Speed Gaming, or you can also donate 250 bits. Of course, this is all just for fun, of course. That being said, though, we're going to find out very shortly when SeedyV makes it into Ganon's Tower.
Everyone's got a, or most people at this point have a chest that they prefer. What is your preferred number? Do you just kind of take it by feel?
Well, I always have faith in Bob, so I'm not too finicky on the number itself, but I'm pretty sure it's Bob today.
Okay. I use kind of old routing to establish a number. I like vanilla big key, so right around Bob, but I usually end up on 15, or I always end up on 15, because if you do the 2 right side chests, don't get a small key, and then go left and open the big key chest first after Ice Armos, that would be 15. So,
well, in that case, I guess it's 14 for me today.
Yep, 14 is the traditional Bob number, but alternatively 18 if there's a small key and SeedyV goes right side, but it's all conjecture. We're about to find out what it is. So good luck to all guessers. Meanwhile, Mr. JohnnySpot has rightly made his way over to Catfish, about to get that Quake medallion. And so I think we'll see him flute or mirror and flute right on over, get to Meyer, and he is also in go mode.
Yep, so while we might be a dungeon down, plenty of things can go wrong in Ganon's Tower. We only have 13 hearts. Red mail's nice, and we do have the Tempered Sword, but nobody's invincible.
Nobody is invincible, but there is the big key on the torch, so unfortunately, rip Bob.
Yeah, Bob's not invincible. Bible thumb, folks. Oh, man.
F for Bob in the chat.
Have to pay your respects, folks.
But looks like we have a big key on 3, so if you guessed 3, you are the winner today. Only one of you who guessed 3. And we'll find out soon who it is. And
well,
thank you for the Twitch Prime sub, Tamat2009. Appreciate it. That's 2 months. Sorry.
Sorry, I blanked for a second there. I was blinded by the amazing support that people have for speed gaming channels. I might not be the robot that is Feasel that handles all this stuff, but definitely can appreciate that you guys are showing support for it. But the other thing to keep in mind here is that with the big key being right there, there's really not a lot of space for Mr. JohnnySpot to kind of slide back into this.
I'm gonna say rigged right now. Dr. Bobtastic has entered key 3, and the correct answer is 3. The closest guess from a sub or supporter was 2 from Dr. Bobtastic. So, congratulations, Dr. Bobtastic, and thank you for closing that one down.
Also, can I borrow your time machine? Well, I guess at this point it is SeedyV's race to lose. Gauntlet here is a very straightforward, mostly kill room section. We're going to see not a whole lot of arrow strats so far because we do have that tempered sword, but not too far here from. Ooh, nice shot! Not too far from Lamola's refight.
Yep, and I think we might see all the Landmos come out at once because I think this is a powder situation. Does have Bugnet, does have some bottles. Looks like there's a B in one of the bottles. Not sure what's in the other one. But also, just getting that health is good.
Getting a really nice one cycle. Very nice. Also, shout outs to Normo3030 for the Twitch Prime subscription. Thank you.
Man, that Landmo 2 was excellent. Really, really good. It's very hard to do those with silvers when they're cluster spawning like that. You need a combination of good RNG and good pattern recognition, and SeedyV just did a great job, so very nice fight.
Getting really nice Wizro brooms as well. Canis Samaria, a fantastic weapon for that section.
Yeah, so looks like SeedyV has definitely practiced his gauntlet and is making quick work. This is a very technical section of the game, and so it's always good to watch this well executed.
I always gotta wonder though, how are our runners gonna handle torches too? Because I mean, that's a really narrow window to get through that. Ooh, ouch.
Yeah, torches too, hanging him up a little. Decided to do right, bottom, top, left, and that's a really interesting approach. Looks like he's going to take a more conventional one because he doesn't have the fire rod. It looks like he's a little flummoxed, doesn't have all the muscle memory from normal practice, and that's not unusual because so rarely do you get up here without the fire rod.
Yeah, I mean, the folks who do like the no EG speed run may see more of this. This is basically like the true any percent without having exploration glitch. They often don't pick up fire rods. You'll see some strats like that, but very rarely do people come across that in this sort of mode. And this top right torch is the one I'm worried about. All right, he gets it. Nice. He uses the damage boost. Very smart.
Yeah, he could also torch across that one tile gap, but it's a pretty tight window if it came up, but makes it through. And so he is going to be on to, in short order, Moldorm 2. We'll
he's
see.
past the hardest parts.
Yeah, we'll see if there's a hover in store, but I sincerely doubt it. He's got the hook shot. It's just that so much easier for most players to just dispatch Moldorm.
That's too bad, though. We did see in the pre-seed warm-up that he was trying to do the reverse Trinex hover.
Reverse Trinex hover?
Well, you know that gap before Trinex, right? Very fun place for people to practice the hovering, but you know, there's only like a handful of people out there who can actually hover that entire gap.
The T-Rock entry gap, the long one?
The one right before the Trinex boss fight.
Okay, yes. Okay. Yeah. That's another tricky one. For sure. I mean, was he getting it?
Do the whole dungeon.
Because I missed it. But either way, it makes it through Moldorm 2, takes one bop, but on to Aghanim 2, Geometry Wizard, starting us off with a 0.
Yep, the Mark II form of Aghanim, the Geometry Wizard, will have 2 after images that'll always shoot energy balls at you that you can reflect. The main one can still do a blue ball, same 50-50 coin flip chances that we would have with Aghanim 1.
I think we got a 0-1-0-1. We're binary Aghanim so far.
Holding true to that.
Yeah, so far. Looking for one. Nope, another 0. This Aga 2 is not going as we drew it up. MrJohnnySpot. Oh, it looks like we got 2 that time, even through the blue ball. So binary gone. One more particle. Nope. No? Huh.
May have had an accidental eaten up shot, because if 2 of the energy balls hit it once, it's going to only count once.
Yeah, but through Aga 2 onto Ganon as MrJohnnySpot makes good quick work of Vitreous with silver arrows. That was a nice fight.
You gotta wonder in the situation, I mean, with that kind of Aghanim 2 fight, does SeedyV feel like he's about to get fanfare sniped?
Yeah, I mean, for this seed, I mean, as many things as have gone wrong, and with the internet outage and whatnot, I mean, coming into Ganon at 150, that's a pretty strong time. So,
and of course, we do get to see a relatively conventional Ganon fight besides the silver arrows.
Yeah, it's always nice to get to watch a good-tempered Ganon. Oh, he's got top right spins set up. This is a nice safe spot inside Ganon. 3 spins would be perfect. Instead, he's going 1 spin and some slashes, and gonna try and dodge that ring of fire bats and take a couple hits, but on to phase 3 of Ganon.
Well, it's really tough to dodge the Johnny Cash bats in the middle of the circle, but you can actually, from that spawn point, hit the hook shot on the torch in the bottom right corner. So if you're doing those spin strats like you mentioned, it's a very safe way to get out of there. That's the best case scenario for anybody doing this fight.
Yeah, when you get that top right spawn for round 2 with Tempered Sword, you can do 3 spins, the bats will expand, you walk down, you hook the torch, and you are back out of bat jail. No dodging required, so that's a really convenient spot. But getting his torch glitch, lighting that first torch before the second one goes out, he's only going to need to light that left torch, but with silvers, not too much of a magic concern.
And of course, half magic.
Yeah, exactly. As MrJohnnySpot makes his way to Ganon's tower, SeedyV has completed the Ganon fight.
Yep, he's going to be walking into the Triforce room just over an hour, 51 minutes, and about 40 seconds or so. But that will be enough to finish up the seed. That's a fantastic race.
Yeah, really nice time from SeedyV. Coming across with roughly a 151.42. Gonna have to stop that timer at some point. But maybe he's using a different timing convention, like end of credits or something. We'll see. But very nice run from SeedyV, what we were able to watch of it. Unfortunately missing that little chunk in the middle, so we weren't able to fill in all the details. But everything we saw was great.
We'll try to see if we can get SeedyV in for an interview. Looks like SeedyV will be, so be just one moment and he'll be able to join us.
Wonderful. So yeah, GG to SeedyV. Looking forward to him joining us. And here we are joined by SeedyV. GG, and congratulations on the win.
Thanks, guys. First of all, before we go anywhere, I want to sincerely apologize for my technical issues midway through this race. My internet service provider went down completely for about a 15-minute span. I want to reiterate, I did not pause or do anything untoward during that time. I did nothing but complete the seed and spent my entire time doing so. So sorry about that, guys. That was completely beyond my control.
Well, the frustrating thing about it was that we watched you jump off the ledge towards Magic Bat and never saw what the item was until eventually MrJohnnySpot grabbed it. But that was a very, very teasing moment. I was a little upset about that.
Yeah, thanks Spectrum for that one, guys. Again, I'm very sorry to you and to the viewers for that. Despite being a little bit razzled, I will admit, during that process, I don't know how many times I've threaded in a technical support call check during a randomizer seed, but that was certainly done some point, probably during my pod exploits. But yeah, man, this was something. Oh my gosh, that so that death at the fake flipper attempt, that was meaningless, right?
I mean, the Zora sniper, if there's an army of Zoras, he's clearly the highest ranking member.
Yeah, that guy that they post right outside Waterfall Fairy Cave is a very high-ranking Zora, absolutely. But yeah, I was saying I've had those internet problems, and in addition to like being frustrated for the stream and for sort of the product you're putting out, basically, it really can mess with your mind state. And it was good to see you not get too rattled. And when you came back, you and MrJohnnySpot were both in Ice Palace. And so it was nice to see that you had continued to fight through the seed and make progress, and we're in a good position to keep it interesting.
Yeah, I had fully expected to, because I do not have the race room. I minimized that. I am completely blind up until the point I defeat Ganon, so I had no indication whether JohnnySpot had completed it or not. I was fully expecting to see me be the runner-up in this one, quite honestly. But with that being said, the fact I was able to restore my internet service in time for that heart attack of a cold stare fight, I honestly wouldn't have minded if I'd come out with a loss to have pulled that nonsense off. So, but happy to take the victory all the same.
Yeah, you
well, definitely does
really
lead to some differences. I mean, like you end up having a sword upgrade over MrJohnnySpot in the cold stare fight, as well as through most of the seed. Currently in Ganon's Tower with Master Sword.
Oh wow, I think Thieves Town was where I got my Master Sword. I assume that maybe he didn't check there, although it was the first 4, so I honestly have no idea what Johnny has or hasn't done there, but that might be the difference. I don't know. I obviously don't have the luxury of knowing that, so.
That appeared to be the case.
Yeah, that is a good read on your part. I had trouble remembering where that sword was from. But he did get the Sick Kid sword and the first sword that you found. I think that was up on Lightworld Death Mountain.
Yeah, out of sequence Death Mountain, and that was a thing. Titan's mitts and this level 1 sword in that first Paradox room. Holy cow!
We were thinking early on that, the late book was going to be like a serious problem for you, but because of your sequence break of Death Mountain and all the things you found there, it still ended up being very efficient. So that was some very heads-up play. I mean, you can't have seen it coming, but very great, routing in spite of that.
Yeah, just rather fortunate there, quite honestly. I can only think about the things I did wrong. My Eastern Palace foray, floundering in the dark room there. You could tell probably, although it may have been while the stream was offline, but I had some indecision through a lot of this. I nearly dived into Agnum's Tower, but checked the, I was this close from doing an Agnum just because the Dark World was so inaccessible without the hammers and flippers at the time. Excuse me.
Yeah, it was really interesting because MrJohnnySpot seemed to be absolutely on top of the seed logic early. Went over to Ice Rod Cave, got the book there. The book led to the shovel led to the flippers, and then the flippers led to sort of his Dark World access by way of getting him over to Hammer. And you got there completely differently through the mitts, and it was really interesting to see those two routes kind of come together. We thought that for a while it looked like you were well behind, and we were just willing you to get over to Ice Rod Cave.
I assume that Johnny checked that in his initial south trip.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you were aware of this, but in our discussions on when to schedule this, he made it known to me that in his week 1 race, he did not check the Ice Rod Cave, and that led to him doing an unnecessary Agnum. So I imagine that he was going to check that as early as he conceivably could.
Interesting. Did that play into your decision to choose to check or not check that location?
I'm not sure, honestly. I've been up for almost 20 hours at this point, so I can't recall exactly what my mindset was when I saved and quit out of the mini Moldorm cave when I did. Maybe I was gambling that would be irrelevant and that I would maybe buy some time, because I had a read that he would be checking. he would crawl to that if he had to, basically, just based on his previous experience, and I can't blame him. But it turned out to be to his benefit, and I guess somehow, some way, I was able to recover from that routing mistake.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely hurt you a lot less that, you know, we didn't have anything really important on, you know, any of the tablets. You know, we didn't have to worry about pedestal or anything. I mean, for all we know, maybe one of those was Fire Rod, because neither of you guys have found that.
Oh, so he has not found fire either. It's probably somewhere buried in Ganon's tower with like 19 chests unchecked for me.
Yep.
So
Yeah, he is onto his Aghanim 2 fight now, and had a similar trouble with Torches 2 that you did, because it's so unusual that you get there without the fire rod.
yeah, that was completely improv. I have never done that, to my knowledge. I don't recall ever doing that without the fire rod at my disposal. Luckily, because I was thinking ahead too, I was like, oh gosh, the room after that with the 4 torches with the collapsing floor, I was like, oh, I need to, I can't do that in the order I'm used to for sure. But then I was like, oh crap, I don't have the fire rod to shoot it up across the gap. I hope this is doable. Yeah, that was that was an interesting room, to be sure. Props to JohnnySpot as well. I don't want to come across unsportsmanlike or anything like that in what I've discussed up to this point. I'm sure he's done really well. And guys, if you're still watching, give him a follow. He definitely deserves it.
And that definitely goes for both of our runners. You know, obviously putting on a fantastic show for us. I found it really funny, though, the whole, you know, Torches 2 thing, because both of you guys took different strategies for that, and for it being such a rare, obscure thing to come across. MrJohnnySpot took the one tile over style of lighting that lamp, because you can reach it from a bit of a distance, whereas you had opted to just dash up there. Both valid strategies. Very rare to see them both in the same run, though.
Yeah, I don't, again, mine was completely improv. I was just desperate to get past the room. I don't know what's the ideal or the correct quote unquote way of doing that. I was just desperate to get on with it, because honestly, I was under the mindset that I was likely behind the way that things transpired. Apparently, I was wrong in that assumption, but I had no idea, because I had the race window minimized, and I do that intentionally. I don't want to be impacted in any way with that sort of information. I just want to play the seed, get it over with, and whatever happens, happens. So,
looking at how close the overall timers ended up being, I mean, it's not that huge of a difference. However, MrJohnnySpot's doing this Master Sword, so this is going to be a pretty slow fight. The difference in swords seemed to have been a pretty hefty difference between your overall times here.
Yeah. Strap in for this spin-tastic Ganon here. This is going to be a fun ride.
Yeah, I'll be quite impressed if he is able to do this in one go. I don't have his stream up right now, so I'm just kind of doing this blind right now. But it's very impressive to be able to do Master Sword Ganon, and kudos to JohnnySpot if he indeed pulls that off.
Yeah, thankfully you both got the silvers from the Pod Big chest, so
It could have been very easy to miss that.
yeah, that was one that was good to see you guys go back in for. Or I guess I don't think we saw you go back in.
No,
for it.
my internet was down
during the outage.
Yeah, pardon my sorry to talk over you. Yeah, my internet was down during the entirety of Pod and Eastern. I did Pod and then mirrored to complete Eastern, begrudgingly, seeing as I could have. I was a little bit more proficient with dark rooms, had not had to bother with that. But no, I was still I was still looking for Quake, still looking for boots, because I did check Desert, so I knew we were hammerlocked at Desert, boot locked rather. So I was not going to leave that without every single possible location discovered. So luckily that led to silver arrows and a mail upgrade too, if I'm remembering correctly, in the pod maze. And I'm still kind of miffed over my internet service provider, but that's of no interest to you guys and to y'all watching. So
yeah, all I can say is I absolutely identify with the frustration, and I'm glad that you're able to persist and continue to battle through that, because in addition to being highly inconvenient, it really gets to at least my mental state when I'm racing and that sort of thing happens. So kudos to you for battling through and not only getting the internet back up and getting your stream up in time for us to watch the conclusion, but also in just being able to continue playing through it.
Yeah, I tried to get some video recording through my OBS, so if I need to provide that, it's not the full span of when I was offline, but I should have that if I do need to provide that sort of proof, if you will. But yeah, it was kind of jarring at the time, hearing an OBS ding every 10 seconds as it was trying to reconnect without internet connection. But thankfully, Spectrum decided to wake up and restore my service in time for this not to get too controversial, I suppose.
Well, we're already almost done with Ganon, so maybe we'll get a chance to have both of you guys in here for a brief interview. Master Sword Ganon almost done, doing sword spins instead of silver arrows.
I hope he goes for this. I hope we're just gonna be in for 24 spins.
I all the respect in the world for that. That is going out with style.
Yeah, that's. Looks like he's elected to go for spins at the more conventional time and just going for the silver strats.
Yeah, I was gonna say going for the warp spins kind of crazy.
Yeah, just memeing it up a little for the full Master Sword Silver list for the first round.
Well, so SeedyV, this brings you up to 1-1 in the tournament. For those of you out there who somehow haven't heard SeedyV on the comms, SeedyV's been doing commentary for this tournament with some fantastic results. I'm sure I'm not the first person to tell you that, though.
Hey, I appreciate that. My first foray into providing some vocal material here, but yeah, I'm happy to. I was hoping I'd like to represent the commentary team a little bit better than week one, so happy to get off the schneid here and get back to an even 500 record. So now I have to go 4-1, not 5-1. That's nice. That's good to get that. Get that. Start that journey a little bit in my favor. So
hey, somebody has to. I'm 0-2.
It's a long 7 rounds, so. There's a lot of A Link to the Past rando to play. Thankfully, we have so many matches, and this is going to continue for, after this week, 5 more full weeks, and finishing up Silverless. Ganon is down. MrJohnnySpot doing 3 silvers and 6 spins for his Ganon kill.
Very classy.
I like it. And he holds up, and there it is.
And he also now gets to drink from the fire hose. So what more could you ask for, quite honestly? But yeah, I hope he joins us here shortly. I'd like to get his thoughts on this rather interesting seed that was generated for us tonight.
All right, I'm going to send that invite to him in just a moment.
Yeah, I hope he chooses to come and join us. That is a really interesting seed, and I'm interested to get his opinions on it, especially with how divergent your routes were early. I thought that the seed opened up in a very interesting way, just with how it presented items early. Gave you a lot of really interesting choices, and you guys went completely different directions.
Yeah, I just can't help but wonder what would have happened had I not gotten denied at the waterfall like I did. Getting the hammer, and I think there was something else in there of note too, but the hammer was in there, and I could have gotten that at a lot different time than I ended up getting it. So, hey, JohnnySpot, I see you've joined us. Hey, GG, man, well done.
How's it going?
GG, MrJohnnySpot. Nicely done. Very classy finish on that Ganon.
Yeah, A+.
Yeah, not by choice.
You did run out of arrows, didn't you?
Yeah, so I think I got 3 silvers on him.
Yeah, you connected 3 spins and 6, or 3 silvers and then 6 spins. You don't very often see the combo kill, so it was nice to see.
Wasn't intentional, but glad I could do it.
So I gotta ask, I mean, with this seed, I mean, where are your thoughts at on this? This has been quite a wild ride.
I'm really frustrated with a lot of my execution. Like dying to cold stare with probably 1 or 2 hits left on one of those puffs is incredibly frustrating.
Brave to go after it with Fighter Sword, though.
Yeah, I thought I could do it. I also thought going into it, well, maybe I'll find Fire Rod and it won't be so bad. But no.
Speaking of that, nobody found the Fire Rod.
It's got to be in a pendant dungeon, I would imagine.
Seems likely at this point, or Ganon's Tower somewhere, just because it wasn't required for anything this seed, and so it was interesting.
That's true, because we didn't need it for
SeedyV, yeah, you and SeedyV both ended up in Upper Ganon's Tower at Torches 2, and the torch rooms up there, just having not practiced doing those rooms without Fire Rod. It was really interesting to see you guys kind of sight read those, or at least what looked like sight reads. I don't think I've ever done those rooms without Fire Rod.
I can't say that I've ever practiced that before.
Very fringe case scenario to be in.
All of a sudden I realized as I was starting to light the 4th or light the 3rd one, and then was gonna boots down to the bottom one, but I didn't have Fire Rod and I had to approach it a different way.
Yeah, and you did a good job adapting. There were a couple, consternation slashes there as expected, but you got right back on and got through it. I think a little faster than Seedy did. I think Seedy might have taken 3 rounds to get through it, but you guys both were able to puzzle it out and make it through, so it was good to see.
Looking at the end game collection here, I mean, there's really not a whole lot different between the two of you. I think really the biggest thing that SeedyV had as far as inventory was just that extra sword upgrade. It was in one of the first 4 chests in Thieves Town.
Oh, I thought about going in there, and I almost went in there before I found Quake at Catfish, but I kept having the opportunity to beat pendant dungeons for the most part, so I just kept trying to go knock those out.
I do want to ask you guys, though, since we do have you on the mic, how did you feel about that start of the game? We had the bombs available to us.
Honestly, that's probably the best I have done, the bombs. I was practicing that actually during my warm-up prior to the race getting underway, and I was praising the sun that was the case as soon as those bombs were revealed. But I feel I did. Speaking for myself anyway, I feel I got through that pretty smoothly, all things considered. There was no shortage of bombs in the Hyrule Castle, I noted, by the way, which was kind of hilarious at the time. That seems like an eternity ago, though.
Yeah, for real. That is literally yesterday for me at this point. But, I didn't really... I wanted pretty much anything but bombs. I almost died by the time I got to Zelda Cell because I missed a pot throw. And that missing the pot throw early on just was sort of set up the rest of the seed and a calamity of small errors that just built on top of each other.
Yeah, I mean, for a while early on, you read the logic really, really well, Johnny. You went to Ice Rod Cave, you took that book and were able to turn it into shovel, turn that into flippers, turn that into hammer, and get that intended Dark World access. And by the way the logic was playing out, it looked like you had a pretty substantial lead, honestly. Seedy had skipped Ice Rod Cave and didn't get anywhere down that logic chain, but then broke into Death Mountain, and the sword and Titan's Mitt kind of brought you guys back together and made up a big part of that difference.
Yeah, at that point, you didn't have a sword.
Yeah, I don't know when I got my first sword, because I beat Swamp with no sword. I knew that I could get through it, and I've practiced Argus plenty of times with the obnoxious menu switching, but like I felt fully comfortable doing Swamp, but I don't even remember when I actually got my sword. I guess we'll see in a minute as the credits scroll. But in my first race, I didn't go to Ice Rod Cave, and the Moon Pearl was there, and I went and beat Aghanim before I went back there, and that's where the Moon Pearl was. So I lost pretty handily my first race because of not checking Ice Rod Cave. So once I found that in there, I just kept going with the logic as best I could.
Yeah, you did a really good job of following the logic along and progressing it and getting yourself into the Dark World. And at that point, everything had opened up, and so it was just a series of things that kind of didn't pay off. And being down a sword upgrade and taking that very late fighter sword, Cold Death, and the things that you're citing as kind of the big errors of the seed that just kind of piled up on you a little bit.
Yeah, I guess looking at the stats, I was 52 minutes in before I got that first sword.
Wow.
Yeah, because once Dark World opened up, there was nothing pulling you up to Death Mountain until you were going to be mitts-locked. And so it was a big question of when you were going to get up there and find your mitts and that sword versus when Seedy was going to go over to Ice Rod Cave and get Book, if that was going to become relevant.
Yeah, I will say that I do recall me and Johnny discussing what happened in his week 1 race, what he had just described moments ago. And the moment I saw the book, when I did check my Ice Roll Cave, my heart sank to the floor because I figured Johnny was going to check that at his earliest possible opportunity. And when I followed that logic train and found that it led to what I'd been looking for a good while, I thought I was deep. Like, I thought there was no way I was going to take it, honestly, because I figured he, apparently correctly, that that was already done and dusted for him. So I was genuinely surprised that I ended up taking this. So but again, kudos to Johnny. That if it weren't for the sword and Titan's mitts and when I sequence broke, there's no question I would have lost by a significant margin, I feel.
GG to you for pulling it out. I didn't particularly like this seed, but I think it was a good race. I hope it was for everyone that got to watch too.
It was fantastic to commentate. You guys put on a fantastic show for us.
It was absolutely a really exciting race to watch. I encourage you to, whenever you feel like it, to go back and review it, because there was a lot of interesting stuff, a lot of stuff that you each did right that was worth watching. And so I'll say to anyone hanging out in chat, if you enjoyed the race, and I hope you did, definitely feel free to go give these runners a follow. MrJohnnySpot and SeedyV both put on a really nice race tonight, and I'm sure they would be appreciative of the support.
And of course, they still have plenty of tournament left. So, we're only 2 weeks in, well, not even 2 full weeks into our 7-week Swiss, portion of the tournament. Both of these runners have a lot of opportunity left to run deep into this tournament. And based on what I saw today, I'm pretty confident that they have the brains to do it. So definitely, give these guys a follow, take a look at their, where they are in the schedule, keep an eye out for them. They'll be very exciting to watch throughout the rest of this tournament.
Yeah, that's a great point, Yuta. There's so many matches happening right now with, I think 512 entrants in this tournament. That's 256 matches a week. And so I think just today there were 63 matches on the schedule, and unfortunately not all of them were able to be restreamed just because of the sheer bulk and the human resource that goes into that. But there's constantly matches going on all the speed gaming channels 1 through 6, the ALTTP Randomizer channels. Give those channels a follow, throw them your support if you want to continue catching all of these Link to the Past Randomizer races. I think this is one of the last ones tonight, but I think there's also a 2 a.m. that should have just kicked off recently that you can go check out as well. And then there's going to be plenty more all day tomorrow. And so there's a lot of good stuff that's going to be going on the rest of this week and for 5 more weeks of this Swiss. And then it's just going to be brackets, and it's going to be even better.
Yep, so stay tuned, folks. There's lots more to see. And it looks like that 2 a.m. Restream is going to be on Speed Gaming 3. We might end up getting sent there anyway. But I think we should probably close it out so that everybody involved here can get some sleep. Do you guys have any last words to share with the audience, specifically runners first?
I just wanted to thank CD and thank you guys for doing commentary and the restream and tracking. I know it's always a lot of work to get everything going, and we're only 2 weeks into this tournament, so there'll be a lot more. But thanks for all your efforts in getting this done.
Yeah, I echo all of that, definitely. And I'd like to thank Johnny once again. Well done. I know it must not be. It's not a good feeling being 0-2, but keep your head up and man, just enjoy this. Whatever happens, man. This is a blast, regardless of the result. And keep at it, man. Yeah, there's no reason why you can't run off 5 in a row, quite honestly. So best of luck to you in your future races, and thanks again for racing. This was a lot of fun, and thanks guys for your time as well.
Yeah, thank you, CD. Congrats on the win. Moving on to 1-1. Thank you, Johnny, as well for the race, and good luck in the next 5 rounds. Still a ton of play in this tournament. And I'll echo the sentiments you guys have expressed. Big props to Space Cowboy Tracking, the Restream, everyone behind the scenes making these tournaments happen so that Yuta and I get to chat at you for a couple hours over and with MrJohnnySpot and SeedyV showing their skills on these races. It's a blast for everyone involved, and it wouldn't be happening without all that work behind the scenes. So wanted to take a moment to acknowledge those folks again. I want to pass it over to Yuta to close us out and just say thank you for letting me join you on commentary, and thank you to chat for keeping us in check tonight. It was a lot of fun. Absolutely.
It was a blast. It was very fun. I think you guys have pretty much said thanks to everybody I could possibly hope to. I'm going to triple echo that. So with that, Speed Gamers around the world, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for your time. Of course, follow every channel. Look forward to seeing you next time. And in the meantime, see you next mission.